you've looked into a little bit of what's happening in Lucas. We've got, 2 years ago, groups of citizens were unhappy with their internet service, and they came to the city. The city didn't have a plan to solve it. It was new, and so now they started a technology committee. And here we are 2 years later. The people are still unhappy. We don't have a plan, but what we do have is a bond measure for $19 million for the city to build a fiber internet business. And we got that $19 million number from a study, feasibility study that the city paid a consultant, Magellan Advisors in this case.
Know them well.
Yeah, and so in this case, it's all brand new to us. We haven't been through this before, but you have. So can you share your take on what's happening here in Lucas?
Right. Well, first of all, I think you got it backwards. You're actually going out there and trying to raise $19 million by selling general obligation bonds, which goes straight to property taxes, by the way. And the question that nobody ever asks these consultants is, what happens if it fails? What happens if your projections don't come in? Who is left holding the bag? In Lucas's case, because these are general obligation bonds, it's going to go straight to property taxes. And based on my little bit of research into your community, your annual budget for the city is $7.5–8 million, somewhere in there. And you're looking to borrow $19 million on top of that to do this.
And we already have $23 million outstanding debt, so we're looking to add 19 more.
So you're going to yes, this is repayable over 15–20 years, whatever the term of the bond will be. But still, that's a very, very significant financial hurdle that you're really just rolling the dice with. I mean, you might as well take your 19 million and take it to Vegas and put it on black on the roulette wheel. But that's part of the challenge. But going back to the original question, is you got it backwards. You're trying to raise the money first, or authorize them to tag you with property taxes, and you don't even have a business plan yet. The feasibility study that they put together are based on some really rough projections. From what I understand, now they're talking about doing lower tiers instead of just the one size fits all $115 a month that everybody, including Magellan, advised was relatively high compared to anything else that they had worked on. So now you're looking at people talking a lower tier level of service at a cheaper price. Well, it's a cheaper price. They realize they need a cheaper price because not everybody's going to want to pay $115 a month, and their business model, as put together in their feasibility study, falls apart. You got to get 55% of all residents to participate at $115 a month for that thing to break even. Over 20 years. Break even over 20 years, right? And so by offering a lower tier level, and if you look at the city's own documents, and I was looking at that before we got on here, there was a question and answer page on the city's page for their broadband proposal. And one of the things it talks about is, can we offer a lower tier service? And they said if they had a lower tier, like 250 megabits per second speed at $75 a month, it wouldn't work, because it doesn't bring in enough revenue to pay off the $19 million of bonds. So their own acknowledgement says that offering a lower tier is not going to help. They have to get this higher level of a higher price tier of $115 a month. And it doesn't matter whether they're offering gigabit service for that, or 250 megabit per service. They just need 55% of the households and businesses to pay $115 a month in order to
just to cover the bills,
just to cover repay the 19.2 million or whatever it happens to be, and keep the operating costs going. So I think the process that you got going right now is backwards. That they're trying to tag the property taxpayers, because once those bonds are issued, then you're going to sit around. You got $19 million of cash. What are you going to do with it? Well, of course you're going to go build it, even if the projection, the designed cost, turns out to be $25 million.
That's a good point.
That's all there.
Because so the $19 million is just a bond, but that plan also includes pulling $4.7 million out of the current city's rainy day fund that's set aside for other projects. So it's really, when you do the math, it's almost $25 million. And then when you add the $5 million of interest that's going to come due on all this stuff, you're just, the numbers just keep going up.
And one of the things that we've seen is the initial projections rarely turn out to be the final projections.
Right.
I was dealing with the city of Charles City, Iowa, and they started kind of about the same time that Lucas did back in 2018, trying to get this thing up and running. And they hired a consultant to come in, and the initial survey said, yes, there's a lot of interest. So then they went ahead and did a business plan, and the business plan, the initial projection said that they were going to need $11.5 million to build this, and needed some additional money for working capital. So they thought they're going to have to borrow about $12 million. So they do that. So yeah, that sounds reasonable. Let's move forward. We think we can do this. And so then they go and they spend, I think, $400,000 or $500,000 on a design, the engineering cost to design the system, and a few $100,000 more for a business plan. Now they've sunk $1.2 million into the planning and design of this system. But guess what? Recently revealed a few months ago that the total cost is now going to be over $18 million.
Ooh.
And they're going to have to borrow a few million more for working capital. So they're going to borrow $22 million. So the initial projection of $11.5 million to build it, borrow $12 million, turned into $18 million to build it, and $22 million to borrow. When you miss your projections by that much, I can't imagine why anybody would listen to these consultants on the front end and do this, because but as the people in Charles City say, well, we've already spent 1.2 million. We'll never get that back unless we build it.
That's a sunk cost fallacy, right?
Well, the taxpayers might take a little bit of an interest in that, in terms of, if you're going to be, in your case, in Lucas, funding this with general obligation bonds. If this goes bad, your property taxes are going up, period.
Yeah. So, but so here we are, we're stuck with this right now. On one hand, we have, companies, telecoms are not coming forward and saying, Lucas, we're here to help you. Let us publicly tell you what's going on. So the one choice is wait, do nothing and wait. And on the other hand, we have the start a city fiber business, right?
Sure.
It's pretty extremes. There's got to be something in the middle, right? What do you think?
Well, I think first of all, you need to figure out